We've been talking about David and his time as king. He was Israel's greatest king, though some call the Golden Age actually the time when his son Solomon ruled. I personally think David was a greater king. But the Bible does tell us he was human. He made mistakes. His biggest and best known mistake is, of course, the one we talked about a few weeks ago, his incident with Bathsheba. The second biggest mistake the Bible tells us about for David was that one day Satan moved him to count the people. Now to us, we're used to having a census every 10 years. That is in the American Constitution. And that is so they can decide how many representatives each state needs in Congress to run our country. In Israel, it was a different situation. They were a monarchy. They didn't have a Congress. When a king at that time counted the people, generally he counted the men who were eligible to go to war. And that is, in fact, the kind of census that he told his first-in-command, whose name just left my head. I know it's not Joel.
Joab.
Joab, thank you. He told him, go out and count the people. When Joab came back after the count, he only had the tally of the warriors. So we know that's what David meant when he told him to do that. The reason to do that would be so that you can plan what country you want to go attack, or you can boast in the size of army you can raise, and it is you taking control of your military situation in your country. When God had specifically told David through the Mosaic Law, don't worry about it. I'll make sure you have whatever you need. And we can go back in time to the time of Gideon, when Gideon beat up and kicked out of the countryside tens of thousands of Midianites with 300 men. So you don't need to worry about how big your army is. So David did this. Joab didn't want to do it. He said, are you really sure? Because, you know, I really wish God would give you twice the army you have now. We don't need to do this. We don't need to violate the law. David made him go do it. So he went out and he counted the people. Well, when he was done counting the people, a prophet came to him. I believe his name was Nathan. Came to David and said, you know what? God wasn't real happy with you doing what his law specifically said you weren't supposed to do. So you get to choose. You can choose either 3 years of famine, or 3 months of running from your enemies, or 3 days of a plague in the country. And David said, don't bring the enemies on me. I don't want to. I trust God to be merciful. I don't trust humans to be merciful. So a plague started, and that plague ended up killing 70,000 people. The Bible says that after 3 days, God told the death angel to stop. Stop your killing. It also tells us David looked outside the palace window and he saw the death angel over...
Needs a better name.
over a threshing floor just outside the city of Jerusalem. So David ran downstairs. His prophet was there and told him, yeah, go. He ran downstairs. He went out to that threshing floor. He bought it from the owner. He bought the guy's ox. He bought the guy's plow. And he sacrificed the ox there on the threshing floor. And that is when the plague quit. This changed the numbers for David's army, so he no longer had the complete tally. But God was merciful in stopping it before it went into what was probably the largest city in Israel, stopping the plague before then. It only killed 70,000 and not more than that. So this is our second big sin that we know of that David did. We're getting close to the end of his reign. He had a long life. He lived to be 80 or thereabouts. We are in the book of Samuel, which is right there in our progression. And we'll learn probably the next to last lesson on David next week. I'll have to look it up for sure, but I think it's the next to last lesson. So let's sing our song. I am a seed. I am a seed.